Hello, and welcome to this Ridiculous Creepypasta Review Show. I'm joined by Nick.
Hello.
And Rocky.
Hi.
And today we're reading LSD Dream Emulator Killed My Brother, or Gary. My name is Brian. I'm 28 years old and I'm a business analyst. I currently live in Seattle, but I grew up in Little Rock, Arkansas. I had a great childhood.
Did you? Really?
I feel like he didn't in Little Rock, Arkansas.
Nobody has a great childhood.
No.
Especially in Arkansas.
Our neighborhood was fantastic. Lies. My father used to be an IRS employee and could give us a comfortable life.
That's not
well, as long as it's comfortable.
Yeah, as long as it's absolutely comfortable. But something drew my family away from Little Rock. You know, the fact it was Little Rock. My younger brother Gary died when he was 13. That changed my life forever.
Okay.
You know,
My parents got divorced because he lives in Heavy Rain universe. I moved with my mom to Seattle, and my dad moved to Los Angeles. 2 years later, my dad was found dead in his apartment, hanging from the ceiling. My mother died just
suicide. Maybe it was Maybelline.
My mother died just 1 year from that, due to an overdose from antidepressants.
Oh no.
I do not consider myself a depressive person. Yet I am much sadder and lowbrow than I used to be as a kid. I feel like it's not the correct use of the word lowbrow.
I would like to point out that none of the I's are capitalized.
Yeah, that's another excellent point.
Also, perhaps.
Perhaps I am just one of the family members that resisted the event without suiciding.
Because that's a verb now.
Rocky, whatever you do, don't suicide.
It's not worth suiciding over.
You know, kids these days, they're always suiciding. And it's a real epidemic.
Guys, these suicide jokes are really getting cold.
Well, that kind of sucked.
Post-mortem jokes.
Right?
Even though I feel somewhat guilty for the death of my brother. It took me more than 10 years to summon up the courage to tell you guys what happened. I'll tell you Gary's story.
When I was 9, I got my first video game. A NES.
A NES isn't a video game, it's a console.
Also, is this from Gary's perspective or from Brian's?
I would
Brian's.
assume this is from Gary's.
It's from Brian.
But, it's from Brian's.
Yeah.
Oh, well.
So
Video game became my religion very quickly.
That's not how you spell video games, and it's also not a religion.
And also it's singular.
Also, he's 28. He says 10 years ago.
He was,
more than 10 years ago.
Yeah. No, it actually works out, but continue.
Probably.
Yeah, okay,
I don't
I'd save...
notice.
Shut up, Rocky. I'd save money to buy cartridges. It's like a gun. I'd sell lemonade to my neighbors in order to buy video game-related magazines.
Magazine is more like a gun.
He's just buying a ton of guns.
When I was 11, we got a SNES for Christmas.
I'm glad you called it a SNES. That makes me happy.
Right?
Thanks, Nick.
By that time, Gary was already 5, so he could understand that video games were and often played with me. What video games were? What?
You could understand that
what video games were and often played with me.
Y'all need a
Although
comment.
I often played and he watched, like any younger sibling should.
Learn your place, young one.
You're a second player for a reason.
Luigi. In 1998, we got a Sony PlayStation. What?
Opposed to the Microsoft PlayStation.
And boy, that was a riot. Okay, 3 Days Grace. My brother was 10 and insanely addicted to it. We fought a lot for the right to play. You gotta fight for your right to PlayStation. But he always won. Wait
a second. He was 10, and that would make you 16?
You're so shitty at video games.
And his brother just beat the crap out of him. Okay. I wanted to play. But by the time you are 16, your head revolves around other stuff besides video games.
Is this channel PG?
No.
Oh, like tits.
Alright, Rocky, you read the next paragraph.
When I think back to the course of events, I can recognize the fateful day that changed our lives forever. It was the beginning of the spring in 2001.
Harrowing.
Hey, I have a question. What year does this take place in?
All over the place. Don't bother asking.
Okay, because
it's modern day.
It's kind of like a post-apocalyptic future, but
yeah, it's okay. Anyway, continue reading, Rocky.
I was driving downtown, and I just picked up my brother from school. He was 13 by this point. We passed through a game rental parlor that we used to go when we had our SNES, when we saw a paper written, "We're closing down. all for sale. Gary almost pulled the steering wheel, demanding me to go back immediately.
Alright, I need to read this one because it has the best line in the story.
Well,
we entered the place.
Selfish bastard.
And there was some people browsing through boxes of games and consoles. We digged on it. What? We digged on it?
Where do you dig? Is that on? That's not. What website is that? Where you dig it?
I don't
Probably
know.
Diggle.
That's not a thing.
Anyway, they were selling some Pistone games for $2 or $3 each.
What? Damn it! It's not actually it.
For $2 or $3 each.
It's not a thing. That's a stupid name.
Shut up, both of you. We got crazy. We were piling up games without even thinking about it. We already had about 30 games. Crash Bandicoot, Sensible Soccer,
what?
Resident Evil,
what?
Spyro, Tobal, etc.
No, it's not etc. It's ect.
When we were playing our huge purchase, I saw... What? When we were paying up our huge purchase, I saw a CD on a box by the counter that called my attention. It was blue and yellow, and the front only said LSD. I immediately knew it was a drug.
I was like, dude, I be tripping balls.
The back had Japanese stuff written on it. I asked the owner what the game was. He said he had no idea, even though it was in his store. The price tag said $3, even though it was priced. He had no idea what it was. It's like, that's how shops work. What's this then? Oh, I see. I'm just going to put a price tag on it now.
If it's in here, I guess I own it.
I haggled a bit and got it for $1 extra.
Wait a minute, so does that mean he got it for $4?
Yeah.
Like he added an extra buck?
I imagine it's like, I imagine it was something like this.
Or is it like he paid for his huge package and then it was like $1 more on top of the package?
I imagine that it went something like this. I see this is $3. Can I convince you to come down? I'm already selling everything in the store for a greatly reduced price, and I'm selling out. Now it's $4. Deal with it.
Oh.
The owner seemed really sad for giving it all away. We paid and... Even though we didn't know what it was. We paid and got on our car. We didn't know how to drive, so we just sat on it.
I remember back in elementary school, my mom would always have me riding on top of the car. She would just tie me down, because we didn't have room. It was just a little shitty car.
That makes sense.
Wait, and then the image is an image of it I found on Google. That was the moment that changed my life forever.
The following months were filled with gaming overnights, sleeping late, and playing a lot with my brother.
Wow.
We really bonded that couple of months. Incest for the wincest. I helped him with his school assignments, and he listened to my complaints and fears about girls.
They're really scary. They tried to eat me once.
Dude, well, I wouldn't complain. The future and these kind of stuff.
These kind of stuff. Read the next paragraph.
I remember one night when Gary was asleep. I got the LSD game that we had not played yet. I put it on...
Like a dress.
And the opening was filled with nonsense, brainwash-like images, and nonsense phrases all over it. A strange menu opened up. Then I pressed start. No shit, really? You started a game by pressing start.
Instead of pressing select.
I mean, you don't really do that
often anymore, though. The game starts on a Japanese house. The controls were awful. The graphics were awful. The music was worse.
Worse than awful.
The character would do nothing but walk and turn around.
Why did you keep playing?
Every step had an annoying sound, and there was no exit from the stupid house.
Sounds like...
So I took the game off and put on some Theme Hospital. My brother hated, but I loved it. Thinking that $1 for LSD was a complete...
Wait, hold on. $1? Even if he meant to say I got it for $1 less... That would mean it was $2. So where is this coming from?
No, so he paid for his huge package, right? So let's say his huge package was like $50.
This guy does not have a huge package.
I am explaining it like he has a huge package. So he paid for the huge package for like $50, and then the $1 extra made it like $51. So he paid $1.
Fine, whatever.
Yeah.
Rocky, you read the next paragraph.
As a prank to my brother, I told him the next morning that LSD was probably the best game on the whole PS1 library, and that I wouldn't let him play until I finish it. Of course, the first thing he did after school was looking for it and playing.
Was looking for it and playing?
This guy's regular Shakespeare.
Alright.
That is what I feel guilty for. I brought it, and I was responsible for he playing the game.
For he playing this game.
This fucking game that ruined his life, my family's life, my life. It all comes back to that moment when I got this evil thing from the hands of that man and brought it to my house.
Ooh.
Gary came to me and said, "You really thought that game is the best? Are you retarded?" I laughed and told him he didn't understand it.
More like, retarded's a mean word, guys.
Shut up.
Just to see he strive with it for a while.
What?
I mean...
Strive with it?
Whenever
striving to drive in.
Yeah, whenever I'm trying to play a prank on my brother, I want to see if he strive it.
Alright, anyway.
Always. By that time, I was busy with finishing my classes, tests, and parties.
I really had to work hard to finish my parties.
Okay, I would like to point out that when you Google mysterious deaths of 13-year-olds in Little Rock, Arkansas, the only thing that comes up are python and snake-related incidents.
Maybe, we don't know, he hasn't died yet, it could be a python or snake.
Yeah.
Anyway, keep reading.
It comes out of the
Forgotten and
TV.
the Found.
Forgotten in the Found?
That was one of the snake articles.
Oh no.
I'd rather be reading this than this story. Anyway, continue.
No,
All that stuff. Hey, I can choose to go when I want.
No, he's a
You're
strong
not-
I don't want this
boss.
video to be 3
You're
hours.
not the boss of me.
Oh.
This video is already 12 minutes long, so let's...
So?
Okay, read.
All that stuff in the end of your school life? I barely stayed home and barely talked to Gary. But once, when I was leaving home early, he came telling me he understood LSD.
Are you sure he didn't say he understood LDS? He's finally converted to Mormonism.
Oh man.
Guys, Mormons aren't jokes. They're real people.
They're also jokes.
He came telling me he understood LSD because it's like this metaphorical idea the drug is.
Oh.
He also played the game once or twice.
Yeah, he was just like, brother, I understand LSD. It's here to bring us closer.
Get on with it.
This is why I don't like letting you read.
Oh,
Alright,
I thought it was a good story.
you are. You're a great storyteller.
You're great.
I guess I'm just not that funny. That was a dream game. You played inside a dream, and every time you started a new game, it would be all completely different, like the game is randomly generated. I found it impressive. Maybe I didn't give it enough time and effort, but I had no time to waste on that, so I just forgot about it.
For like a month, I barely got in touch with my brother. Back then I didn't even realize that, but today, I can tell that. Besides me being away and entertained with other stuff, my brother was awfully quiet and strange. He barely ate, barely talked, and never left the house. My mother often tried to discover what was up with him. My father told her to let it go, because every kid has a phase like this. You know, a phase where they don't leave the house for a month. That seems normal.
That's my
That's
life.
like college students.
I remember agreeing with him and dissuading my mother to take any measures about it. Once again, my meddling was parte of the cause of his tragedy. On the morning of May 26, 2001, I woke up suddenly with a desperate scream from my mother. It was a sunny Saturday. Oh God, the horror. I ran to see what happened. She was on Gary's room. I entered the room and felt a shock run through my spine. Gary was lying on the ground in the middle of a pool of blood. My mother was petrified. She could not move. All she did was scream. My father came right after me to the room, and he desperately grabbed Gary's pale, lifeless body, held it, and cried. Gary's head fell back on his arms. On his own arms?
I feel like that would be his shoulders. Like, oh.
Unless he,
Unless he was like
just reclining in his hammock while dying.
Sexy pose.
And we could see the gap opened on his throat. He cut his own throat with a kitchen knife. I ran to the bathroom and puked several times. My legs were weak. I could not stand. I cried and felt like there was no air to breathe. The neighbors heard the shouting and came in, because we leave our doors unlocked because it's Arkansas. They rushed and called 911 and the police. Aren't they one and the same?
Yeah, actually.
We couldn't do it. If they didn't do it, I guess we would have been there all day with Gary's body in the blood.
That sounds a little bit like snuff porn.
It kind of does, and it also would be a bit suspicious.
Just like,
Oh,
hey officer, so I've been in here for like a week. My mom can't move, she just screams. My dad is clutching to my brother's dead body.
And my brother's dead body has curled his head all the way back to touch his arms.
And he's like reclining.
Anyway, your turn.
They came and took us to the hospital one day later.
It took us to the hospital, and one day later.
Oh, and one day later, just kidding, our neighbors held his funeral.
That's really fast.
Why?
Like, that's stunningly fast for a funeral.
Why didn't, the family hold the funeral?
That's also another good point.
As our house was being analyzed by the police and later cleansed from the blood, okay, We couldn't understand. Nobody did. We never saw it coming. That was the hardest shock of it all.
Sorry.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. The police said it was suicide because he left a note.
You don't say. Wait, that's the only reason they thought it was suicide.
Yep, that's
because he left a note.
Only difference between
He
murder
handed
and
my
suicide
mom the
is
note
notes.
that said.
Okay, wait,
sorry.
hold on. Rocky, do a dramatic reading of the note.
I'm sorry, Mom. I'm sorry, Dad. I can't stand the gray man no more. I have to put an end to this. My head. It hurts too much. And Bri? It's Bri.
It's Brian.
I think it's Bri.
And Bri? I finally got it. In lunacy. The savage dream. I'll miss you all. Love, Gary.
I couldn't understand it. He had really bad handwriting, you know. Nobody could. I mourned on his death for like 3 months.
Like 3 months, you know. Then I went to the mall.
Yeah.
I wouldn't leave my room. Leave the house. Well, that was implied when you said you wouldn't leave your room. I thought this pain would never stop. One day I was going through his stuff and decided to play some Tekken. I cried like a baby. Remembering the times that we shared playing video games. Why do you think selling video games is one word?
I don't know.
I found in his stuff a diary. I never knew he had a diary.
Probably because diaries are secret.
Gary was a different kind of boy, meaning the kind that kept a diary. He was very creative and very artistic.
Hey, it's a journal.
He's
okay?
that kind of boy.
He loved to write, but he kept that diary a secret from us all. I decided to read it, to figure out what made Gary do that.
Reading it, I got shocked.
Ah!
It was that game, LSD.
It's in the game.
That game I bought and tricked him into playing, he was obsessed with it. Almost all the entries in his diary were about it, since the day he played for the first time. Some pages he just drew nonsense stuff, on some he described passages of the game, on others he wrote stuff that made no sense to me.
As opposed to the nonsense stuff.
But most of all, he kept writing about the Gray Man. Gray written is the European version.
Hold on, he spelled gray differently in the note than he did in the journal. Okay.
Yeah,
Oh.
well, Gray is the American version to spell it, and Grey is the European version. It was a man that appeared in the game and erased his memory. He started seeing the Gray Man everywhere. Each page I read made less sense than the previous. Gary was completely losing his mind because of this game. By the end, it was all terrifying phrases and sketches.
How does he know that he's losing his memory if he forgot about it? Like,
Alright,
that just doesn't make sense. How do you, know the Gray Man's following you if you can't remember? It's like the silence in Doctor Who.
To be fair, what he means is erase the memory in the game, so we'd still understand the Gray Man. Rocky, read this
Well,
paragraph.
then just get a better memory card.
Or a better game.
Or just
I did not tell my parents about the diary nor the game.
Because, that doesn't seem important or anything.
No, it was totally unrelated. He was just stressed from school.
There's gray people in school. That makes sense.
You had to find the doctor.
Okay.
The TARDIS.
I couldn't watch them miserable like this, and bringing this up would only upset them even more.
Because that's how it works. Knowing the cause of a person's death makes it more upsetting.
I started researching this game by myself. I found out it was a Japanese game,
That was kind of implied with the Japanese writing on the back.
and read that the developer made the game based on a diary he kept about his weird dreams. Oh.
Huh.
When I was trying to find a way to contact this man, I found out he had been killed.
Fun fact, he hasn't. He's still alive. Just by the way.
Wait, is LSD an actual game?
Yeah.
Oh no. And apparently, someone obsessed by the game like Gary killed the creator.
So wait, are we talking about lysergenic acid diphenylide?
No, that's
Or
the
are we
drug.
talking-
That's a drug.
Anyway.
Well, I guess I'm done with this.
Claiming that the Gray Man told him to. It chills my bones to this day, just to remember this, but it is obvious that there is something off about this game. I summoned courage, the cowardly dog, to try and play it sometime after Gary's death.
Just to have the dog play it.
Yeah, but his copy was completely scratched. It looked like it was made by human nails.
What was?
The scratches.
The scratches.
Okay.
The video game.
The video game
That's what it
was
sounded
just like
Made of human nails.
maybe Gary scratched it to prevent himself from playing it. I still have the memory card where he recorded his development.
Is that actually how memory cards work on the PS1?
I mean, I guess.
Yeah, actually.
But I thought the gray man deleted his memory.
I think it's like when you reach the gray man, like you start over at a different game. Like you wake up because it's a dream game. Right?
Maybe we should have brought somebody who's played this game before.
That's
anyway.
dumb. Does the game actually work like that? That sounds cool.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I want to try it.
Bomb game. Except I don't want to go insane and kill myself.
Yeah.
If I'm not mistaken, he played 600 and so days inside the game. It's a long time.
It is. It's quite a while.
I try to find copies of the game to this day.
I've never heard of an emulator in my life.
But it seemed to be very rare. I still can't believe how unlucky of me was to find.
How unlucky of me was to find?
I still can't believe how unlucky of me was to find, buy, and take home this curse of a game.
I know my mom and dad wouldn't approve of what I'm doing. They were reserved people, but I'm sure Gary would be thrilled to have a story on the internet. Since my parents are not here to reprehend me, that's not how you spell that word, anymore, I will do more than just tell his story. I will show you excerpts of his diary. Of course I won't transcript it, that's also not the way you use that word, since it contained very personal stuff of my brother. But I will transcript here the entries related to the game, and possibly scan some of it, if I can find a working scanner. And that's it. There's no scans of the game, there's no transcript of it. So what do we think of that story? Nick, what was your thoughts on the story?
I was kind of just confused by, like, the time. Like,
Yeah,
I feel like time was just kind of like a sentient being.
that's a common theme of
Just kind of
creepypastas.
like,
I think that it's a analogy for the fact that we ourselves are creatures bound by time, but in
are you
this
on
world.
LSD?
I mean, no,
I mean,
no, stop it.
anyway, I thought it was very poorly written. I'm pretty sure it was written by somebody in a different language and then translated to English. At least I hope so, because the writing was terrible.
I thought the narrative was compelling.
As a story, how did it work for you guys?
It started off really slow, and I feel like you could have focused a little bit more on the killing, because, I mean, like, that's what makes it scary, like...
Yeah.
It could have been longer.
It could have been shorter, easily.
I didn't feel connected at all to his brother.
No.
There was no reason for me to feel sad for
I
the
actually
fact
kinda
that his
felt like
brother
his brother
died.
was a dick.
Yeah.
Well, he was what, like a 9-year-old beating up his 16-year-old
10,
brother?
10.
Yeah, 10 beating up his 16-year-old brother.
I'm not physically though.
Yeah. Well,
He
anyway,
just sucked at video
this
games.
certainly isn't the worst creepypasta I've ever read, but it's certainly not the best.
Okay.
Anyway,
okay.
thanks for joining us this time.
Okay.
I've never read
wait,
creepypastas.
wait, before we go.
I
Okay.
showed you one already.
Okay.
Maybe.
Yes, you have a...
So,
As far as they know, you haven't.
here's what's up.
Okay.
They say they bought the game when his brother was 13.
Alright, and they say his
Right?
brother died at 13.
And they say his brother died at 13. They also say he logged 600 days in the game.
And that's continuous hours.
Almost 2 years.
Like it
Writer, learn how years work.
It takes like 3 days to log like 24 hours in
I
the
mean,
game.
the only way I can see that
So-
working is that maybe he means, by days, he means like different dreams. That's the only way I can really see that working. Even still, it doesn't make sense.
Well, just like the wording of it, he logged 600 in-game days.
Yeah. Anyway, this is a bad story. We read it so you don't have to. And this isn't the worst one we've read, but you'll see those later.